In this video, I'm going to be showing you the three main stages of price movement. So what are the three main stages? Well, stage 1 is the trending stage. Stage 2 is the ranging stage. And stage 3 is the transitionary stage. These are the three main stages of price. Price moves through these stages over and over and over. And thinking about price in these various stages and identifying these stages will help you understand price action. So let's look at these stages in a little more detail. First, trending stages. We touched on this briefly in the last video. A trend starts when either buyers have much more control than sellers or vice versa. When you look at the candles in a trend, they are mostly large and heading in the same direction, and they have small wicks in the opposite direction. So in a bearish trend, the candles are mostly heading down with small upper wicks. In a bullish trend, the candles are mostly heading up with small bearish wicks. Trends are pretty easy to identify. What about ranges though? Well, a ranging stage occurs when neither buyers or sellers can break out of a certain area. This is because neither side is strong enough. When buyers go too far up, they lose strength and sellers gain control. When sellers go too far down, they lose strength and buyers gain control. Generally speaking, trading in small ranges is quite tough. There's just not enough movement to either side to be able to enter a profitable trade. Trading in large ranges though can be pretty profitable, but we'll look at that more later when we look at reversals. Small ranges are characterized by several small candles, usually a lot of small indecision candles, because that's what a range really is. A range is indecision. When price is undecided, it starts to range. So you do see a lot of indecision candles within ranges. Ranges can also be small resting periods of indecision in a trend. So if buyers have control of price and you see a strong bullish trend, that trend may stall for 2 or 3 candles. This type of ranging is a resting period. And finally, we have a transitionary stage. A transitionary stage is much rarer than trends and ranges. A transition occurs at the end of a trend's life. When a trend dies, you get a transition of power. Let's say you have a bullish trend. When the bullish trend runs out of steam, you get a transitionary period before sellers gain control and start the bearish trend. Transitions appear as indecision candles, usually 1 or 2, sometimes a few more than that. The thing about transitionary periods though is that they can be confused for ranges and vice versa. Before trading transitions, you need criteria in place to differentiate between a transition of power and a ranging stage. We will look more at that later though, because that's my specialty. That's what reversal trading is. You're looking for those transitionary stages. So we'll go over that when we look at my strategy in detail. So let's look at these stages on a real chart. That way you get a better idea of how they work. Okay, you're looking at a GBP/USD daily chart. Let's identify some stages. I'm going to be marking trends in green, ranges in yellow, and in red I'm going to be marking transitionary periods. So let's get started. First up we have a trend here. Very strong bearish trend. Quite obvious, quite easy to see. I'm pretty sure you can spot this one. Then what do we have? What's happening here? We have a bit of a range here. It's actually a pretty tight range. It would be a very bad range to trade because you're not really getting any decent moves up and down, up and down. It's just messy moves, just like all the way through here. So this is a tight range, and it's a range where you can't really take any trades. Then we get a breakout from this range. So that breakout is kind of a trend. It's a very short trend, but it is a trend. We have a very, very short trend here consisting of 2 candles. Then we have this candle here. Now this candle, what is that? That's an indecision candle. We've looked at these in the last few videos. That is an indecision candle, and that is what I class as a transitionary period. It's a very brief transitionary period, not a very good one because the preceding trend, so the trend that came before that transitionary period, is not really that great, but it is a trend that came before it, and you're getting that transition of power. We went from sellers controlling price to indecision to buyers obviously controlling price. So after that, we got another trend. This one was a bullish trend. Bullish and bearish trends are the same color because it doesn't matter if it's a bullish or bearish trend, we're just identifying the stages. So this is another trending stage. After this trending stage, you don't really get indecision or a transition of power, it just immediately goes into a bearish trend. And if you don't fully understand that, don't worry about it. We'll cover this in more detail later. I just want you to get used to seeing trends, ranges, and transitions. So now we have another transition here. See, at the bottom of this bearish trend, we get this tiny little candle here. That is a transition. Followed by this candle here. Again, this shows transition. So I'm going to put red here to mark it as a transition. Then we get back into a bullish trend. Then we have another transition up here. After the transition, we get a bearish trend. There's actually a lot of transitions here. Another transition. Very short-lived bullish trend. It's just a single candle. You wouldn't really even call it a trend. It would be a trend on a smaller time frame if we were to drop down to the 4-hour, for example. And then it immediately switches to an actual proper bearish trend down to here. And then what do we get here? Here we get some ranging. So let's grab one of these. It's a very small range. It doesn't last very long, but we get some ranging, and then the ranging is followed by a bullish trend, which is then followed by a transition, which is followed by, at the moment, what looks like the start of a bearish trend. So there you have it. It's pretty easy to identify stages of price. Price moves in stages, and when you can identify these stages, you get a better understanding of price action. Now, before you run off to your own charts looking for these stages, I just want to tell you, don't bother. You really don't need to do that. I just wanted to tell you the basics about what a trend is, what a range is, and what a transitionary period is. Because in the next video, there's going to be some exercises that you're going to have to do, and it's going to help you just a little bit to know what a trend is, what a range is, and what a transitionary period is. But you really don't need to be able to spot them on your charts like I just did. See you in the next video.